everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I am reviewing the new Pat McGrath foundation. Now, many of you guys have anticipated my thoughts about this foundation, and let me tell you why I'm a week late. Many of my friends have already uploaded their first impressions and their reviews of this foundation. It launched last Friday, so I think it was like July 26th, I believe. So I ordered the 3-piece set, which was the foundation, the primer, and the powder. And I think the 3-piece set was like $150. I paid an extra $15 to get the 2-day shipping because I knew it would take maybe a day or two to process, and then maybe I could get it in as quick as possible. Well, today, the day that I'm filming this is Friday. So it's been a full week and my order is still unfulfilled. So it hasn't fulfilled yet. I don't know when I'm going to be getting that foundation or the powder or the primer. So what I did is I went ahead and ordered this from Sephora and got it within like a day and a half, which praise Sephora for being so quick and speedy. I'm not like upset about the whole Pat McGrath. Like, I know that they've probably been overwhelmed with a ton of orders, and I get it. Like, I'm not going to take it too serious. But my whole thing was, I just know that many of you guys are waiting to hear my thoughts on this foundation because it is a very expensive foundation. I'm going to get into the details about this foundation. Now, I know that there's been some kind of hesitation when it comes to buying this foundation. Number one, the price is a little bit expensive. It is $68 for 1.18 ounces, and so it's just a little bit over an ounce. It is 35 mils instead of 30 mils. Majority of the foundations are 30 mils, but this one is actually 35. And then number two, the fourth ingredient of this foundation has alcohol in it. I am not super informed when it comes to ingredients, but I have done a little bit of research when it comes to why companies put alcohol in the foundation. So I'm going to get into all of that later on, but first things first, let's get into the description about the foundation. So like I said, it retails for $68 for 35 mils, and it comes in 36 different shades, and it has 5 shade families. So there are deep, medium, medium light, and light. So I like how there are 5 different shade families. Now I will say, it's my understanding, I have watched a few reviews based on skin tone. So I watched Jackie Ina's video. She tried on the foundation, she really liked it, but she did say that there was an issue with the undertones. I searched everywhere, every Sephora, I called every Sephora in the state of Utah. Nobody was carrying this in stock. So I would advise you to go to your local Sephora and see if you can shade match this foundation, because it does seem like the undertones are a little bit strong. I chose shade medium 18. This was a perfect shade match for me. And medium 18 is medium with a neutral olive undertone. For your reference, I will leave a full list of all the foundations that I wear in the description box down below, just to make that helpful for you guys. The packaging is stunning. I love how this kind of opens up and the foundation sits down inside there. I really like the packaging on this. I love this glass bottle. I think the glass bottle is absolutely beautiful. The pump on this is beautiful. I kind of expected this foundation to be amazing because Pat McGrath is such an incredible makeup artist, and she's just been revolutionary in the industry, and I know that she's been working on this foundation for many years, so I kind of felt like she was going to come out with a really, really good foundation, and it seems like everybody on Sephora is loving it. So far, there are 529 reviews on the Sephora website, and it has a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Now, I have some things to say about this foundation, and I don't feel like this foundation is for everyone, which I will get into that later on in the video. And I do also want to point out, I did have an IPL laser treatment on my hyperpigmentation yesterday. So you'll see I have all these little dots all over my skin. That is the hyperpigmentation coming to the surface of the skin. Normally when I test out a foundation, I like to wear it for like 3 or 4 days. But with this foundation, you guys just wanted to hear my thoughts, maybe only testing out for a day or two. So yesterday I had the laser treatment. I applied this early in the morning and I wore it for about 7 hours. And then I wiped off my makeup to do the IPL laser treatment. My appointment was at 2 o'clock. I didn't wear any makeup for the rest of the day. There are some spots here that are from the laser. Now in this clip, you will notice that I took this foundation and I took a tiny little brush and I kind of spot treated and like put it over top of those spots and then kind of blended it out with my finger. And I was able to kind of build up a little bit extra coverage. This is definitely not a full coverage foundation. This is more of a sheer to light on the medium spectrum. I don't know that you're gonna get a good full medium coverage out of this, but I do feel like you can get a good light medium coverage out of this foundation. It's a long wearing customizable foundation that builds from sheer to medium coverage in a wide range of universal hues that manifest the ultimate sublime skin standard. So it is it's classified as a medium coverage. Personally, I think she should have classified it as a light coverage, but buildable to medium. It is a natural finish. That's what Sephora says, but on the Pat McGrath website, it does say that it's a satin finish, and it is for normal, dry, combo, and oily skin. It has unique polymers that provide lasting wear, ultimate smoothness, and a luminous finish. High purity pigments treated with amino acids, which are supposed to deliver enhanced wear and a creamy feel and controlled and easily buildable coverage. The thing that I will say about this foundation, it is exceptionally natural. Like, it is so skin-like and it's very liquidy. Both days that I've used this, I've had to use 2 pumps. So just know that for me personally, to achieve the level of coverage that I have, minus the coverage up here on some of these dark spots, but overall, the coverage that I have achieved, I have definitely needed 2 pumps. I tried it yesterday with 1 pump and I just couldn't get the job done. Now, in the application portion of the video, I will kind of go through my favorite way to apply this. For those of you who are curious about the price and you're worried about the price, I have kind of conducted a little chart here. You guys know I'm a detailed Nelly. I like to be detailed. So I created this little chart here. I'm going to put it up here on the screen. I wanted you guys to see what the price is on this foundation compared to some of the other foundations that are in the high-end category. That chart hopefully helps you to know that Pat McGrath isn't like overly priced. I mean, it is right in the middle between all of those high-end foundations. Now the powder, on the other hand, the powder is ridiculously priced. Like, it is double the price of the Hourglass powder. I will get into that when I do get my primer and my powder. I'm going to wear this foundation for the rest of the weekend, and then when my Pat McGrath package ships, I will go ahead and, start playing with the primer and the powder, and then I'll do like a part 2 to this, making, kind of letting you guys know if the powder and the primer kind of changes this foundation in any way, like if they're necessary. So that's kind of how I'm going to do this. Let's get into a little bit about the alcohol. So I've heard some people being concerned with the 4th ingredient being alcohol, and I totally understand that. So the alcohol, it seems like they use it to thin out the product. So that is the reason why it's a little bit more liquidy. And Pat McGrath does describe this foundation as kind of more of that skin-like, and so she applies it kind of like a moisturizer, and she wants it to be very skin-like. So the thicker the formula, sometimes it can make it less skin-like. So it seems like she used the alcohol in this product to kind of thin it out a little bit, and then once the alcohol reaches the skin, it does evaporate. So it's not like it's going to, dry out your skin. It seems like there's enough ingredients in here that kind of balance or counteract the alcohol. We're using so many hydrating products. We're using a daily moisturizer. Even if you're oily skin, your oils are going to counteract the alcohol. It seems like this foundation is targeted for like dry, normal skin, right? Well, kind of, if you have really dry skin, you're more sensitive. So those two kind of go hand in hand. So if you're just like a climate dry, or you're dry but you don't have sensitive skin, I think you'll be okay with this. If you have sensitive skin, I don't think I would play with this one, because the alcohol is the 4th ingredient. It might cause you to get a little bit itchy, or it might cause you to sting a little bit. So just know that if you're really dry and you have really sensitive skin, I would probably stay away from that. And you probably already know that if you have dry, sensitive skin. For me, I just had my IPL done yesterday, so I was expecting my skin to be a little bit sensitive, and I was a little bit worried about putting this on my skin today, but I've had it on for several hours now, and it has not caused me any type of, you know, stinging or itchy, or I don't have any irritations or anything from it. So, you know, for me, even though I'm dry normal right now, I'm more normal because I'm more dry in the winter. We're gonna go ahead and jump into the application portion of the video. I'm gonna show you guys how I personally enjoy applying this foundation, and I don't feel like I would ever use a sponge with this, especially with it being very liquidy. A sponge is going to absorb so much of this, you guys, it's not even going to be worth it. So that's another thing that you're going to have to take into account when you are deciding to purchase this. If you are somebody that prefers using a sponge only to apply your foundation, I don't feel like this is for you. If you're somebody that likes a full coverage, I don't feel like this foundation's for you. So you gotta kind of just, and if you're super sensitive skinned, I don't feel like this is it for you, but I do feel like you can find that kind of happy medium with this foundation. So without further ado, let's jump right into the application portion of the video, and I will see you guys in my first check-in. Okay, so I am super excited to finally try this out. So this is a very liquidy foundation, and that is what 2 pumps look like. And it seems like yesterday I used 2 pumps. So what I did was I just kind of dotted it all over my face. Now I wasn't able to wear this for very long yesterday just because I had to take it off for my treatment, but I just kind of rubbed it in with my fingertips, and then I kind of really buffed it out with a brush. But it looked really good yesterday. Now, granted, I only wore it for a few hours, so now I'm curious, you know, this was, I got pretty decent coverage doing it like this as well. So I kind of just massaged it into the skin with my fingertips, just kind of applying it like I would a cream. And I will say that the undertones are really strong on this shade. I'm able to make this work. I don't know that any other shade would match me better. Now I have it rubbed in like I would just like a moisturizer. Then I go over top of it and just kind of buff it into the skin. You know, kind of making sure that it's nice and blended into the hairline and stuff like that. But it does feel very serum-like. For this testing purposes, I know I'm not going to be able to cover up these brown spots. I mean, what the IPL treatment does, the laser does, so it goes all the way down underneath the layers of the skin, and it kind of pushes out the melasma, the liver spots, the dark spots, the hyperpigmentation, whatever you want to call them. And it will do that for freckles, birthmarks, you know, hair removal, all types of stuff. So I'm not going to be able to cover up these dark spots, and I'm totally okay with that, because I do know that this is like a sheer to light medium coverage. Like I don't know that you can get a full medium coverage. You might be able to, but I don't know, you know, if it will look good at that point. But I mean, granted, if I didn't have these dark brown spots, like when I applied it yesterday, it really covered nicely. But I actually love the way that this feels on the skin. It's very hydrating, and it's got a nice luminous feel to it. Now, a friend of mine had said that she loves the powder. The powder is very expensive. And as soon as the powder and primer arrives from the Mcgrath, I will definitely be testing that out. I'm going to be wearing this all weekend long and kind of testing it all throughout the week, waiting for the powder and the primer to arrive. Once I get the powder and the primer, then I'll start kind of, I have a hair. Then I'll start kind of playing with the powder and the primer to see if the powder and primer make a difference, because sometimes you always wonder, does that stuff really make that much of a difference, you know? This is very skin-like. I mean, this is a very, very skin-like foundation. Again, ignore all these little brown spots because that's the melasma, the dark spots coming to the surface. But if you just look at the foundation, hopefully that those dark spots are not too distracting. But if you just look at the foundation, it just looks like my skin, but just kind of evened out everything. Now you can see some of my hyperpigmentation coming through right around here. That's my original hyperpigmentation without the brown spots right here. So you can see that this didn't fully cover it. This spot right here is my hyperpigmentation spot. that, you know, this foundation didn't fully cover it, but it did do a really good job just to kind of even out the skin and kind of just give an overall glow. All right, let's turn off the ring light. I turned off the ring light, so this is more natural lighting. I just have the 2 umbrella lights sitting in the corner, and I'm sitting in front of a window, but it is not direct sunlight. So this is just like regular room light, and I think this foundation looks amazing. Again, for those of you that need a lot of coverage, this is not going to give it to you. And this might be one that you could kind of play around with and maybe put some concealer on underneath it and then apply this over top, or spot conceal over top. But this just looks so beautiful. Like, I just absolutely love the way this looks, how radiant and how natural it looks. It looks really pretty. It looks so good around my wrinkles. Like, this is my crinkling skin, and sometimes foundations will emphasize that, but this doesn't. Like, this is so skin-like. It's probably the most skin-like foundation that I have. So that's it for this application portion of the video. I will come back and do a midday check-in in a little bit, so I will see you guys then. Okay, everyone, I'm back for a midday check-in. It is currently 3:30 in the afternoon. So it's been about 6.5 hours now, and I wanted to kind of check in, show you guys how this is looking, but my foundation is flawless. Like, it has not budged, has not changed at all today whatsoever. Now, I did go and run a few errands. I just got back a few minutes ago, and this has not settled into my fine lines. This is so natural and so healthy and so glowy. I did not apply any powders. I do want to mention that. So normally you guys know that I like to apply my Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish just right here in that T-zone area to kind of cut down the shine. I'm going to put up some pictures to show you guys what this looks like in more direct sunlight. It is absolutely flawless. It looks so natural and so glowy, and like, it's just beautiful. Now, you know, I've had foundations kind of tank and change the way they look from this point, you know, between now and the 12-hour mark. So I'm kind of curious how this is going to wear, because yesterday I applied it around 8 o'clock in the morning, and I had to take it off around 1:30 in the afternoon. So I really didn't get to give it like a really long day wear test, but today I am definitely doing that. Anyway, so as you can see, it just looks really natural. It doesn't really look like I have a lot of makeup on, which is the thing that I do really like. It does look a little bit oily, a little bit dewy, a little bit radiant. So I do feel like for me, this is a foundation that I will want to wear, like, you know, the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless or the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush powder, just in that T-zone, but it is so beautiful. Like, I love this. And you can see on my creeping skin, it just looks so natural. It doesn't emphasize any of my wrinkles, any of my texture. Okay, now I'm gonna turn off my ring light. Okay, so this is what it looks like in more natural lighting. I will say, I do believe that the way that I applied this made a difference, because yesterday I started out applying it with a brush, and I just don't feel like a brush does this justice. I feel like if you really massage it into the skin using your fingertips, I would say like 90% of the application is with your fingertips. You really massage it into the skin, and then the last 10% is just lightly kind of going over any spots that might be a little bit thicker, or, you know, kind of blending it down into your neckline, into your hairline and stuff like that. That, in my opinion, is the best way to apply this. I mean, you can see how healthy and radiant my skin looks through just the natural lighting. I love the undertone of this. I love the way that it looks on my skin. I love how comfortable it feels. I don't feel like I have makeup on. It's so lightweight. Anyways, that's it for this check-in. I will see you guys in my final thoughts. Okay, everyone, I am back for my final thoughts on this foundation. Now, I applied it right around 9 o'clock this morning because I did want to make sure that I got a really good wear test in. So it's now 11:30 at night. So I've had it on for about 14 and a half hours. There are some issues with this foundation. Now, you know, as you guys saw in my 6-hour check-in, I was loving it so much. Like, I was almost thinking this was going to be my new favorite foundation. And there are some things that, you know, maybe applying powder might help to eliminate some of these issues. That is one reason why I like to test them for longer than 2 days, just because I can kind of play around with it. But I will be testing this all weekend, and then as soon as my primer and powder arrive with the entire set, I will, you know, I'll play around with all weekend, and I'll kind of update you in the part 2 of this. This foundation has broke apart, like in between my eyebrows. It's gotten kind of patchy. And I think it's just because it's such a hydrating, oily, almost type of foundation that it kind of breaks away. If this foundation would have lasted 8 to 10 hours, like it was at the 6-hour mark, I would say that this is worth the money. But right now, after wearing it, you know, for 14 hours, I don't know that I feel like I can say it's worth the money. I think it might be a little overhyped. I was hyping it up because I was loving it. I think it looks gorgeous for those first few hours. I mean, it's gorgeous. But there's a lot of foundations on the market that do that for me. Like, my newest favorite one from the drugstore is this NYX, this Born to Glow. You get great coverage, you get that natural glow to the skin, kind of that radiant look, and it's $10. This is a spendy foundation. In order for me to say that it's worth the money, it really needs to perform, and it really needs to perform a really long time. I know that some of you out there, you know, having your foundation last 6 to 8 hours is good for you. But there's a lot of women and men out there that wear their foundations for 12 hours or longer. You know, whether you are a nurse or you're just a busy mom and you get up early and you start your day early and you end your day late. You want your foundation to last all throughout the day. I think I'll enjoy this more during the winter time where I'm more dry, you know, because right now I'm more normal, and I just felt like as it started to break away, which once I turn down the lights, you'll see exactly where I'm talking about, it should have lasted longer than it did. For me, paying that much money, my thing is if I'm going to pay that much money, I want it to be a bomb-ass foundation. You know what I mean? You guys know exactly where I'm coming from. If you're going to pay that much, you want to get your money's worth. Now, I know that the brown dots are very distracting, and I'm very sorry about that. They should be gone by the time I review this with the other kit. But do you see some of this lightness that I've got going on right here? That's where the foundation is completely broken away from. Right here in the center of my face, right through here above my brows, it's broken apart. It's fully come off like around my chin area. It's really weird, like through here. I haven't touched my face. I don't touch my face that often. I try not to. I've completely lost all coverage here around my nose. I have no foundation around my mouth. I mean, you guys can see what I'm talking about, right? Like, it looked so beautiful in the 6-hour mark, and then it just really started to get bad after about 8 hours. So if you're somebody that wears your foundation for 8 hours, I think you might really love this, because I sure did. But it was after the 8 hours that it kind of started to go crappy. All right, let's turn off the ring light. I just have this like weird breakage going on around my nose, up around my chin. So you can see where it's just really patchy, like right above my eyebrow. And right here is where it, like the center of my face is where it's really noticeable. And you know, I have other foundations that perform better than this without powder. I only wear powder in the T-zone just to kind of break down the shine. I don't apply a lot of powder. So, you know, it just is kind of, I don't know. It was a little disappointing in my opinion. I was really hoping that it would last longer than it did, but it just really started breaking apart. And you know, you can just see it kind of like patchiness. And I'm sorry that the brown spots are probably distracting. I mean, you can see just how, I'm testing out a new concealer too, which didn't go very well, but you can see just how broken apart this is. You can see it really breaking apart around here. Look at my chin. I'm just really disappointed. I was really hoping, I had such high hopes for this 6 hours in. It looked so beautiful, and now it looks a hot mess. I'm kind of disappointed, you guys. Like, oh, I'm kind of disappointed. I really had high hopes for this foundation. So that's where I'm at, you guys. I'm gonna continue to wear this all weekend long. And as soon as my kit comes from Pat McGrath, I'm gonna wear the primer and I'm gonna wear the powder and kind of see if maybe that changes this. But I honestly, you guys, here's my thing. I am a huge believer in a foundation should work on its own without, I'm okay with adding a certain primer or a certain powder to really make it bomb, but it should do pretty decent on its own. And this foundation just doesn't after like the 7 to 8 hour mark. It takes big time. But as where it stands right now, you guys, I have to say that this is a pass for me. This is a pass for me right now. It's a huge pass and a huge fail. We'll see if it changes, but as it stands right now, it's a pass and it's overhyped. That's just my opinion. For those of you that love this foundation, I am so glad that it worked so well for you. For me, it just did not perform and last longer than some of the other foundations that I have in my collection that are even much cheaper. And so it's just like, I expect a lot out of a high-end foundation. I'm really hard on high-end foundations, and this just didn't cut it. So that is my final thoughts for this foundation. Thank you guys so much for your patience on waiting for me to upload this video and waiting for me to review this foundation. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you guys for all the love that you guys show me and my channel. It means the world to me, and I will see you guys in my next video. Love you. Bye.